1954 saw the publication of an extraordinary book entitled Tyranny on Trial, dealing with the trial of the major German war criminals at the end of World War II.
Rudolf Hoess, who was a commandant, H-O-E-S-S is his name, who was a commandant of Auschwitz concentration camp, because we knew that that was, of course, the worst of all the camps. And he'd hidden out, nobody knew where he was. And finally, after we rested our case, the British found him at near Flensburg. He'd been hiding out as a farmer. Now, this is the greatest killer of all mankind, this Rudolf Hoess. So I had Rudolf Hoess brought to Nuremberg, and I spent 3 days with him, interrogating him. And I got the complete story of Auschwitz, the most dramatic thing. I mean, no question about the complete truth of the terrible conditions of Auschwitz. Number one star witness for our side would be Rudolf Hoess. But we had rested our case. So how are we going to get the evidence into the record? You know, this is, in America, this is a real problem.
It's a problem, sir.
So what happened? I turned him over to Kaufman, who is Kaltenbrunner's attorney, and Kaufman finds out that he asked Rudolf Hoess, had Kaltenbrunner ever been to Auschwitz? No, he'd never been to Auschwitz. Aha. So Kaufman calls Hoess as a witness for Kaltenbrunner for the defense. And we get the affidavit, my affidavit in the record.
The commandant of Auschwitz to testify in his defense.
If that's a joke, I don't get it.
I don't get it either, but it's no joke. The British have him in custody, and they've agreed to transfer him here to testify.
Maybe Kaltenbrunner just figures to look better by comparison.
Wait a minute. We're not really going to allow this, are we? Let the guy walk in, say God knows what on the stand, give Kaltenbrunner an alibi?
Might be a cheap price to pay, though, for the opportunity to cross-examine him later on.
During the entire time you were commandant of Auschwitz, did Ernst Kaltenbrunner ever visit the camp?
No.
Not once.
Never.
Thank you.
1 minute, please. Mr. Hoess, how long were you the commandant of Auschwitz concentration camp?
From the beginning.
And what was its purpose?
At that time, to house prisoners who were being held in protective custody.
And after that?
I was called to Berlin by my boss, Reichsführer Himmler, in 1941, and he informed me that the Führer had ordered the final solution of the Jewish question. I was not sure what I was supposed to do, so Adolf Eichmann advised me to visit a camp at Treblinka to learn from its operation.
And what did you learn there?
Actually, I was not impressed. It was taking the commandant there 6 months to eliminate 80,000 Jews using monoxide gas. I had a better idea. One of my Auschwitz guards had accidentally sniffed a chemical disinfectant called Zyklon B, and had passed out immediately. It occurred to me, if a little of this chemical killed lice, enough, perhaps, would kill a human. I tested it on Soviet prisoners of war locked in a room, and it worked. Within 3 to 15 minutes, they were dead.
And then?
I built gas chambers to accommodate 2,000 inmates at a time, compared to Treblinka's 200. And I built 4 large ovens to cremate the remains. It became possible to eliminate 10,000 people in 24 hours. But that was at peak operation, which was exhausting for my staff. On the average, we would dispatch 2,000 people a day.
There was no question in your mind, after listening to that the Holocaust existed.
Oh, God, absolutely none. Oh, no, there's no question about it. That was a complete admission.
Did you ever get a
The only
sense?
thing was, Hearst told me that, well, I don't want to go into the whole detail, it's too long, but Hearst told me that that they'd killed 2.5 million people, not 3 billion people, 2.5 million were murdered and 500,000 died. And then when he wrote his autobiography, he said, no, that was wrong, that was too high. So, so you know, so it's 2 million. That's all.
They didn't execute him at that point? No? They let him-
Rudolf Hoess, I sent him back to Poland. He was tried by the Polish Supreme Court, of the equivalent, and he was convicted by that court and sentenced to die, and he was hanged on the grounds of Auschwitz. In fact, the gallows upon which he was hung were still there when I was last there.
You never once thought what you were doing was wrong.
I was an SS man. We were trained to obey orders without thinking. Does a rat catcher think it is wrong to kill rats?
3 days interrogating somebody, and that's what he's telling you. How do you make sense of him as a human being? I mean, what was he like?
Well, Rudolf Hoess, I would say, would be like a clerk in a store. Mm-hmm. A very unimpressive individual. Not stupid,
right,
by any means. But he's not hasn't any dramatic influence at all. Presence.
Right.
And very matter of fact. Why I knew that, I didn't know at the time, but I subsequently found out that the confession that he gave me with respect to the number of people killed at Auschwitz was the same that he had given to the British when they captured him. So he apparently told the truth to the British, and then he told the truth to me too. He was very matter of fact. And he told the whole thing, and how he was appointed. He was at Sachsenhausen, and then he was given the task of setting up this concentration camp at what the Germans call Auschwitz, and this was a camp set up in anticipation of the war with Russia, mm-hmm. and was to be used primarily to take care of prisoners of war. Mm-hmm. But then in May of 1941, just before the attack, Himmler called Hoess to Berlin, and Himmler said, Hoess, we have a secondary war going along with this struggle, military struggle, and that's a war against the Jews. And he said, the decision has been reached that you shall convert this camp of Auschwitz into an extermination center. And he said, if we don't destroy the Jews during this war, the Jews are going to destroy Germany. So that's it. That's your war, that's your responsibility. And he says, Eichmann will bring the Jews and whatever other people that are on the list to Auschwitz, but you're to see that they're exterminated. So he said that was my duty, and I performed it.